Hey, I'm Candace, your host, and if you're ready to grow your business and build your authority by getting booked on podcasts, I've got something special for you. I'm launching a brand new course that will walk you through exactly how to get booked on podcasts. Everything from identifying the right shows to pitching, preparing for interviews, and leveraging your guest appearances for growth. Plus, if you sign up for the waitlist now, you'll get early access to the course and these special bonuses. When you officially enroll in the course, you'll save $50 and get a free one-on-one strategy call with me to help you prep your speaking points and align your offers. These bonuses are limited and end on April 13th, so make sure to sign up today. Head to the link in the show notes to join and get started on your podcast guesting journey. I can't wait to help you get booked and start sharing your message with the world. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hey, welcome back to the podcast. I have special guest Katy Ripp on today. She is a lifestyle coach, business mentor, and serial entrepreneur. She's also the host of #ActuallyICan podcast. We'll link her show in the show notes as well. And you can head over and listen to the episode that she interviewed me on in January over on her show. But today we're going to hear from her. We're going to hear about her journey into sobriety, self-care, into running multiple businesses. We're going to talk about up-leveling, hiring, delegating, and just being a woman in a very male-driven society. Buckle up, you're in for a treat. Let's dive in. Oh, Katy, I'm so glad you're here. I just finished listening to the episode that you interviewed me on your podcast, and I loved it. I loved your energy and all of that. So I can't wait for you to bring that for my audience. Go ahead and just dive in. Tell us about yourself. How did you get into entrepreneurship? Everybody's journey is always so different, and I love to hear.
No, it's so crazy. Well, thank you so much for having me. I don't love anything more than listening to myself talk, so it's great. So I'm 46, and I would say about 7 years ago, I lost my father-in-law really unexpectedly. I have always been sort of a personal development junkie ever since I was younger, right? Like I wanted to fix myself. I've always felt like I needed to be fixed in some way, and I was the one to do it. Been through plenty of therapy, been through acupuncture, yoga therapy, just a whole lot of self-help books. And when podcasts came out and lots of articles, and I'm sober almost 3.5 years. So I was drinking a lot. And so I was constantly looking at how do I quit drinking? How do I lose weight? All of these external things that I felt like if I could get a handle on them, they would be the thing to just make my life perfect. When my father-in-law passed away, grief is a fickle thing. I feel like there's like a before grief and after grief. Even though he wasn't my dad, we were very close. And grief makes people do crazy things. We know this. This is proven, but also it happened in my family. And I really just got to a point where I had to take responsibility. It really came down to I couldn't blame my parents anymore, right? I was 38 years old. I had 2 little kids of my own. I had a house, and we didn't have businesses at the time. I was working for somebody else. My husband was working for somebody else at the time. Both family-run companies, both in an entrepreneurship way, right? Like when you're in a small business, you can see what it's like to have that kind of like entrepreneurial itch. Both of us had it. I have always worked 2 jobs. I'm a worker. That's like how I was known. My work ethic was certainly tied to my character. It got to a point where some shit hit the fan, and I just said, I need to take responsibility for my life. After 1,000 day ones, I decided to quit drinking. I actually did it, but that was sort of the catapult. I had also had a couple of decades of personal development under my belt, right? Like this wasn't just one day I decided to quit drinking and everything got better. I will say everything in my life is better because of that one decision, but it took 25 years to get to that decision, really. And lots of day ones. I mean, when I say 1,000 day ones, 1,000 day ones, right? Like I would wake up on a Monday morning and I'd be like, I'm never drinking again. And by 3 o'clock, I would have a glass of wine. And that was just like a really ugly circle. But when I finally took responsibility, I finally decided that this is no longer serving me. It really changed everything for me. Ironically, while I was getting sober, while I was in like a 90-day stint, we opened a wine bar. Earlier than that, even, we bought a house, we bought a farmette, and I thought we should grow something. Like, what can we grow? And so I decided to grow flowers, and I started a business called Mad Lizzie's Flower Farm. It was just on kind of a whim. I planted, 2,000 tulips the first year, and I was like, hey, I'm just going to see if I can sell these tulips. I'm going to go to farmers markets. I'm going to do all these things. I ended up going to a flower farming intensive out in Washington. That's sort of opened up the door for entrepreneurship. I realized I was pretty good at it. I was really good at the marketing part. I really loved the connection of it. I started a CSA. We had 80 members where basically I was just delivering the flowers I grew in mason jars to people's houses. It was amazing. And then I realized I wasn't a farmer. I, I mean, I don't care what you're farming, it's farming. Flowers are super pretty. It's also really buggy. It's really hot. It's really dirty. Sometimes you're harvesting in the rain and the sleet and the snow. And that sounds crazy, but in Wisconsin, that's what happens, right? Like it's on tulips. I realized pretty quickly that I was not a farmer, but I really loved the actual business part of it. The marketing on social media, the email newsletters, the connections with people. I was doing some wedding flowers and some funeral flowers. I did my own father-in-law's funeral flowers, and that was a significant thing that I could give back. And so that sort of opened the door. And a long story short, we ended up opening a wine bar in a historical building in July of 2019. And we were open for 8 months. And then the pandemic hit. So we were a bar in Wisconsin that had to shut its doors. And so we ended up becoming sort of a high-end liquor store, for lack of a better term, right? Like we were schlepping really nice bottles of wine out the back door. And we had like all these little at-home kits. And every night I would do a virtual happy hour. So even though I opened it while I was in this 90-day stint sober, I also ended up after 90 days, I was like, oh, I got this thing licked. Right? I'm good. Well, very shortly after that, I got to the same place that I was, drinking every day. And then I had staff. I had, like 15 employees at the time. And I realized I was super good at that too. I realized, wow, I can connect with employees. I can connect with customers. I am really good at writing newsletters. I'm really good at marketing. What I'm not good at is operations. And so I started hiring for operations and I realized, wow, I don't really have to do this all. I hired a bookkeeper. I was starting to realize that what I was good at and what I wasn't good at. That sort of, again, opened the door to, God, I can sort of do anything with the right team in place. Shortly after that, the coffee shop across the street where I had done all my work and went for coffee every day. We live in Cross Plains, Wisconsin, which is a tiny little suburb right outside of Madison. This Crossroads Coffee House was the pillar of our community. And Mary, the woman that opened it, wanted to sell and she wanted somebody local. And I was like, actually, I think I can do that too. And so in January of 21, we bought Crossroads Coffee House from Mary. So now I'm running 2 buildings, 2 places. In June of that year, the building that the coffee shop is in came up for sale and we purchased the whole building, which had 3 units in it. Then we decided at this point, we might as well put another business in here. So we opened the Creekside Scoop, which is a candy and ice cream shop. So in 5 years, we've opened 9 enterprises. So we've got 2 commercial buildings, 3 businesses. My husband left his job, went out on his own. We've got the flower farm. We've got 2 little kids. We've got a whole lot of irons in the fire. Finally, it got to be too much for me, where I was like, I cannot do my life hungover anymore. And so in August of 2021, I hung up my drinking boots. And ever since then, things have just gotten better and better and better. I mean, I can see from a business perspective, almost to the date where the bottom line started going up when I started taking care of myself. And so that really prompted a journey of how can I help other women entrepreneurs, female founders. It's extremely isolating to be a female, especially if you're a heart-led business, because the men that run businesses in our society right now, not all of them, of course, but the patriarchal society that we live in is not heart-led. It's business is not personal. Don't take it personally. Don't. And what I realized was this is my entire life wrapped up. How can I not take this personally? It's different for females. Anybody can argue this point with me. Unless you have a very equal partnership at home, most of the domestic things fall on the females still. Even though I'm running 3 other businesses and I'm an entrepreneur, if the kids get sick, I go pick them up. And it's just the way we work. We were put into these roles, or we put ourselves into these roles, and the way it is, all of the things. And that is different than it is for males. Just don't know that there's any other way to put it. And so what I really wanted to get into was coaching. I wanted to coach female entrepreneurs into a place where there is such a fine line between our professional lives and our personal lives, if that line exists at all. I don't know that it exists. And the burnout that entrepreneurs feel. We go into entrepreneurship with the intention of being free and having flexibility. But then we're doing all the things. We're the bookkeeper, we're the marketer, we're the dancers in front of the reels, we're the TikTokers, we're the janitors, electricians, the tax preparer, everything, all of it. We cannot do all of that stuff, period. We can't do all that stuff. You can do it for a while, and I did it for a while, but eventually, if you want a sustainable business, you can't do it all. You'll burn out. Or if you can do it all, something is going to give. So I really got into a place where I wanted to coach women into a place of real self-care, not a bubble bath with a bag of Doritos and a bottle of wine. We're sold that bullshit bag of goods. It makes somebody else money. But in the big scheme of things, we need to recognize that our self-care is sometimes the shit we don't want to do. The looking at our finances, the really taking care of our bodies, not because somebody else is telling us to do it. The real self-care, the dentist, the doctor, the acupuncture, it has to be something that you're actually starting to take care of yourself. And for me, it was quitting drinking. Was that scary? Yeah. I thought my life was going to end, right? Like I thought my social life was going to end. I didn't know if my husband was going to stay with me because that's how we met, was drinking. And it's scary to take care of yourself and set boundaries. And then all of a sudden it opens up an entire world. Sometimes you're just like not prepared. Like, this is how it could look.
Are you an entrepreneur looking to start or grow your business while feeling supported and seen every step of the way? Join the Aligned Business Collective, the monthly membership I co-host with Andrea Hansen and Brittany Williams, designed for entrepreneurs like you. This is your space to connect, learn, and build a business that truly works for you, while we hold you accountable with our weekly calls and on-demand coaching. Head to the link in the show notes to learn more and join today. You talked a lot about a team and learning the value of that and spending your time in your expertise and what you're good at. With my show, talking a lot to the solopreneur, where you're really doing a lot of it yourself. What advice do you have? Where can you start? And how can you get in the right mindset to say, no, me spending money here on a potential assistant or team member or bookkeeper is really going to benefit me and bring in more money. Can you speak to that?
I'm a junkie for outsourcing. What I realize is what I'm good at. And what I'm good at is big vision and big dreams. Some people are good at tiny details and really digging into the weeds. So I think that's one of the things, if we can change our mindset into just because you don't like it doesn't mean that there's not somebody else out there that does like it. A virtual assistant is a great example of this. If you don't like answering emails and you can never get your email box clean, and your email box clean makes you happy, then you need to hire somebody to do your email box. This goes for stuff at home too. Listen, I love a clean house. I love having my laundry done. I cannot do it. I know that sounds crazy. I can't do it. I don't have that bone in my body. I want something done and I never want to do it again, which is why operations doesn't work for me, right? Like when I open the coffee shop, we go through 55 gallons of milk a week. So I did the first order and I was like, I got this. I got it. I forgot the next order. I don't think about things that are recurring like that. I am like a one and done kind of gal. And once I figured that out, I realized, okay, my cleaning lady came to me and said, I know somebody that does laundry, because what was happening is I was having her skip our laundry room every time she came to clean because we had so much laundry that she couldn't even get to our laundry room. It came to a point where I was like, I just can't do this, but I want it.
Yeah.
So how can I get it? And she was like, here's Yolanda. She can do it. She loves doing laundry. She likes doing other people's laundry, but she's there every week for me. And guess what? I don't have to spend the mental energy on it of walking into the laundry room and feeling like a piece of shit because I can't do the laundry for my family. And the 2 hours a week that I don't do that, I go out and make money to pay Yolanda. Period. From a professional side of this, same idea with a bookkeeper. You are not a bookkeeper. Unless you have a business bookkeeping, you're not a bookkeeper. You didn't go to school to be a bookkeeper. It's not your expertise. If you're not a bookkeeper, you're not a bookkeeper. So look to see if somebody can help you simply put your stuff together to get ready for taxes. Because guess what happens at the end of the year? On December 15th, everybody's freaking out because they haven't done it every single month or every single week the entire year. So we take 6 or 8 hours to do that, where we could be spending $200 a month to have it all done in a nice little wrapped up package and sent over to your CPA. Or social media is another one. Social media, I think of all my clients, it's the number one headache for people. Some people really like to do it. If you don't have a strategy for it, the quote unquote free social media that you're getting is not actually free. You're spending so much time. I know people that spend 6 hours doing a reel to get 4 likes out of it.
Right.
What's the return on your investment? If you need a social media presence, look to see what it costs to have somebody do 2 posts a week for you. You can do all the impulsive stuff. You can still do it, but at least it's done. So there are so many things as solopreneurs, entrepreneurs that we need done. It's this working on your business versus working in your business. So we can work in our business all day long, but if we're not working on our business, we're not getting more business to pay the bills.
Right.
As far as a piece of advice, just look. People have no idea how much it actually costs.
Right.
So if I can't afford that, oh my God, I can't afford that. That's our number one, like I can't afford that, or I'm not big enough to do that, or I don't have enough clients to do that. Whatever the excuse is, because really what it comes down to, it's an excuse. Reach out to a social media manager and say, how much do you cost? Do you know how many free discovery calls there are out there? Ask them how much they cost. And then this is going to come out in February. This is a great time to do this for the year. So it's $750 a month, let's say, for a social media manager. 2 posts and 1 reel every week. Instead of, I can't afford it, how can I afford it? Not only that, but everybody you're outsourcing should pay for themselves. We get into the scarcity mindset of this is only going to be a business expense. No, it's not. That social media person should be bringing you in $750 a month plus. So she should pay for herself and then more. Now, does that happen immediately? Like, do you see a return on your investment immediately? Absolutely not. But any business expense you have should be paying for themselves. And the way that they pay for themselves is you get to be in your zone of genius where all the money is. Whatever you are good at is where all the money is. So all the shit you're not good at is costing you money. Every time you're doing it, it's costing you money. Get into a place where you know what you're good at. You know your dollar per hour. Figure out your dollar per hour. If you're a coach and you charge $150 an hour, that's your dollar per hour. Anything less than 50% of that. So if you're a coach and you charge $150 an hour, anything less than $75 an hour, you should be outsourcing.
That just gives a good, clear line of reference. The other thing I like is, one, there's someone out there likes the stuff that you don't like. They like doing those things. Like I do like some of those repetitive tasks, the operation. I do like that. I like behind the scenes things. So there's always someone that likes that. I like to edit podcasts. Not everybody likes that. And the other thing is you can start small too. It doesn't need to be like you're hiring a full-time employee. There are assistants. I know I run packages that are like 5 hours to be used in the next 30 days. You could start small and dabble. And like you said, take one step today. If you're listening and this is like a place you're in that's been holding you up, take one step and go ask a question of what does it cost? And if you don't know people that do it, ask the one person if they know someone.
I mean, put a hashtag into Instagram. You'll find it. I also find that finding resources, that's the thing about having some sort of collective, having some sort of networking, having some sort of female entrepreneur group that you are in. I know both of us run one. Having those people together, either I am this person or I know this person. Like if you have another female entrepreneur, there are so many things that we all need. We need bookkeepers. We need CPAs. We need insurance agents. Just ask another entrepreneur, like, who does this for you? Because if somebody is outsourcing that, they probably have a really good resource. And if you trust that person, you're going to trust the person that they have.
Right. 100%.
This is how we network. This is how it's not necessarily networking business to business necessarily, but it's sharing resources. And this collaboration over competition, we need to get away from competition. There are 8 billion people in the world. If females, like females are my demographic, there's 4 billion of them. I only need like 100.
Right.
I need
Exactly.
4 billion. I need like
Yeah.
100. So really getting into some sort of collective. I mean, I have Female Founders Collective, you have ABC,
Yep.
but there are other groups out there, but find somebody that you trust, that you connect with, and ask them where they outsource.
Huge.
Very likely you'll get a coupon.
Oh, it cuts so much time and effort in vetting people when you do get yourself in a collective, in a circle, a community where it just turns into asking one question and now you have an answer versus Googling or reading reviews. Let's just trust the people around us to lead us in the right direction. So,
And if it doesn't, like if that person doesn't, you don't vibe with that person, cool. Ask
yeah,
somebody else. Like you don't have to do this vetting for yourself. That's a
yeah,
great word for it. The other thing that I have found is it might not be a person. You don't
Mm,
have to use a person. You can use a system. There
right.
are thousands of systems out there that are pennies,
Yep.
pennies on the dollar for major services.
Yep.
So I use HoneyBook.
Okay.
So, but HoneyBook is it takes care of my schedule. It takes care of all my invoicing. I send out questionnaires for my podcast episodes, that kind of thing. And this just came up the other day because they went from like $275 a year to $588, which is a huge jump. $588 a year is the cheapest employee I have.
Right.
By far. I also pay somebody $58,000 a year. And I use HoneyBook probably 10 hours a week. It ends up being like 27 cents an hour. I did the
Right.
math because people were freaking out about, I can't afford this. I can't afford this. If you can't afford $588 a year for a service that you don't have to do yourself, something is wrong in your business plan. I'm sorry.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's one thing that this show I talk a lot about is systems, automations, and things like that. Two that I like a lot are Flowdesk for my email list and StanStore to deliver and schedule, takes care of invoicing, takes care of all that stuff that just happens where if you have been in the beginning and you are handwriting those and things like that, which I was at one point, yeah, it's worth the few $100s over the course of a year to save you time. Make sure those things are done. There's like an energetic exchange too. You're sending that money out. You also have to trust that that's part of your up-leveling process and that money that you invest is going to come back to you.
The things that we've been taught as females also is that we have these nice little businesses. How's your little business?
Yeah.
How's that little thing you have?
That little project you're
How's
doing.
your side hustle?
Yeah.
And we call it a side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fucking side hustle. It's your job. It's a small business. I don't care if you're doing it on the side when you have a full-time job. It is not a side hustle. You keep telling the universe it's a side hustle. Guess what you're going to get?
It's going to stay a side
You're going
hustle.
to get side hustle money. And for some reason, along the way, as females, we were told we have to start our businesses with $0. I know a lot of men that will never spend their own money to start a business. They're going to go to the bank. They're going to get somebody else's money. They're not going to invest their own money because if it fails, they don't want to lose all their money. But for some reason, we put domain names and Squarespace websites for an entire year on a credit card and then pay 28% because we don't have the money for it. We have to get into a place where if you're going to make an investment, you need to actually make the investment. It's not a side hustle. It's a small business. And if you're going to make it a business, you need to start treating it like a business. And the universe will deliver if you continue to respect it. I say this all the time, like we don't have a really great money mindset. So all of a sudden we get into businesses and we start running our business money like our personal money, that we never want to be in debt. No. Business debt is different than personal debt. My coaching business is really built on, let's get our personal lives in place. Let's start changing some of our mindsets in our holistic mind and body and soul. So then we can build a foundation for a really great business, not a side hustle, a business that's going to flourish and give you all the freedom and flexibility that you're actually looking for.
There's plenty of money mindset books out there. Go listen to one, go read one. It is vital because everybody, I don't care how you grew up, you have some type of money baggage, money programming, and your mindset around money can be better than it is today. I'm turning 38 this year. You're like ahead of me on this entrepreneurial journey, like experience. And I'm so glad you're speaking to that because that's a lesson I feel like I really took seriously in the last year. It's new to be like, if we keep referring to these things, yes, the universe will deliver it. That's why writing your affirmations or goals as if they've already happened. I've read lots of things about like how our brain works, and it is so true that our brain doesn't know the difference of if it has happened or hasn't happened. That's how the affirmations work, is to put it in that present tense, like it's already happened and done, and that you have it already. It really makes a big difference. But I know we talked about this when we recorded for your show, that years ago, I wouldn't have been ready to hear that. I would have rolled my eyes at someone saying this. So like, if that's you, fine, I get it. Try it out. That would be
Yeah.
my advice. Like, just try it out. If not, just keep rolling your eyes and you'll probably be in the same spot you were next year.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience and a 46-year-old female that I rolled my eyes at this shit for 25 years, and everything I rolled my eyes at works.
Yeah.
The manifesting, the journaling, the meditation, the yoga, the walking. I mean, really, every single thing I rolled my eyes at works.
Yeah.
Period. To your money mindset, I do have a money mindset workbook that I'll send you a link to for free.
That's awesome. We'll put that in the show notes. And we're wrapping up here, but I just want to make sure that we touch on what is going on in your business. What can we look out for?
So much. So I meet every single week, Female Founders Collective. It's free. It will always be free. It's a bunch of us that get together, basically introduce our businesses every week, and also questions. We celebrate wins, just a collective. I have a blog. I have my own podcast called #Actually I Can, where we talk about a bunch of taboo topics. I'm looking into my big bucket list for this year is retreats. So I'm setting up a retreat in October of 25. Got a couple of speaking engagements coming up. So just a lot. I've got a lot, and I've really stepped back from my other two businesses as an operator. I hired a general manager and an assistant manager at the end of last year and just said, I'm out of the coffee shop. I'm out of the ice cream shop. I want to focus my life on helping female entrepreneurs. I'll be here if you need me, but I'm trusting you to do the things that you know how to do, and I don't.
I love it.
You order milk.
Yes, exactly. And where can everybody find you to follow along?
Yeah, so katyripp.com, Katy with a Y, and I'm on Instagram, Katy Ripp, anywhere there. And then my podcast, #Actually I Can.
Amazing. Thank you for chatting with me. And I'm going to put all that in the show notes. So listeners, head there, go get all those resources and links that we talked about during the show. And I'm just super excited to follow along with your journey too and see what all unfolds for you in 2025.
I love making these connections.
Yeah.
So it's great to meet you. And certainly this won't be the last time.
Yes, for sure. Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready for podcast mentoring, whether it's setup, editing, planning, or guesting, you can book a one-on-one call with me through the link in the show notes. I hope you feel seen, inspired, and like your dreams and goals are completely valid, because they are. See you next Tuesday.